Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Omni Gaming and welcome back to After Hours. I am your host, Brandon, and noticeably absent today is my compatriot and cohort and companion and partner and friend and co-host and whatever you want to call him, the hooligan miscreant himself, D. He's not here today. I'm flying solo today on this After Hours. The special After Hours, which will be dubbed and named as its own series as KPWP. What does that stand for? That stands for King of Pro Wrestling Podcast. Yes, today we are taking After Hours to the land, to the sport of professional wrestling. Something that I am very well versed in, something that I know a lot about. But, before we get into all that, I ask that you go get a drink, go get some food, go get some snack, sit down, and let's chat for about 30 to 40 minutes. Our normal length podcast that we normally do for professional wrestling. Now, with all that being said, let's get into it. So, what professional wrestling are we covering today? Well, primarily this series will cover New Japan Pro Wrestling. Why? Because it is the company that I know a lot about. It's the one that I follow more religiously than every other company so far. And it's just easier for me to follow, with it being a live streaming service instead of actual live television. But regardless, for those of you who don't know what New Japan Pro Wrestling is, well, let me inform you what New Japan Pro Wrestling is, shall we? New Japan Pro Wrestling is a wrestling company founded in, let me see if I say this right, Nakano, Tokyo. Founded January 13th, 1972 by a man named Antonio Inoki. The king, the legend himself, the legend of legends when it comes to Japan, or Japanese wrestling, Japanese professional wrestling. And so Japanese wrestling, so New Japan Pro Wrestling, it is basically like, I would say it's Antonio Inoki's love child between like the world of mixed martial arts and professional wrestling. It's like if you took the two and you sandwich them together, you get New Japan Pro Wrestling. Something that is going to kick your teeth in, but also entertain the shit out of you. Today we're going to talk about the G1 Climax tournament, the modern G1 Climax tournament, which is a field of 20 wrestlers fighting in two separate blocks, an A and a B block. It's a round robin tournament, so everybody fights it at least once. So everybody has 9 matches in total. It runs for typically about a month and a half or so. This one started started in mid-September, and we're finishing up here in late October. To be more precise, the finals are on the 21st of October. The tournament started on September 18th. So yeah, field of 20 superstars, 20 wrestlers, all competing against each other to earn points. You get 2 points for a win, no points for a loss, and a 1 point for a time limit draw. That is the basic structure and order of the tournament. So, with that in mind, who are our competitors for this tournament? Well, I'm going to run off the names, and I'm going to, because currently at the time of this recording, it is October 15th. We have 2 nights of block competition and the final nights. So we're about ready to wrap this whole thing up. So I'm going to talk about the competitors in the tournament. I'm going to talk about where they stand in the tournament and some more of the key highlights of this tournament so far, and kind of more my speculation and predictions of where this tournament may go. So in A block, so our competitors for A block, I'm going to start with the top point runners and go down from there. So at the top of the block, you have Kota Ibushi, who currently sits at 12 points with 1 match to go, making his total points 14 should he win his final match. Kota Ibushi currently is 6-2 in the tournament, with losses to Yujiro Takahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. They're also in the same block. I'll get to them in a minute. So Kota Ibushi so far, his tournament started off very rough with a loss to Yujiro. It didn't go. On paper, that match should have been a wash for Kota, but he got off very slow with a very slow tournament starter. He picked it up in his next match and then dropped his third match to Zack. Kota Ibushi's second match was against Tomohiro Ishii, who I'll get to him in a minute as well. That's where his first win came from. So at that point he was 1-1. Then he dropped his next one to Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah, he lost to Zack on his third match, making it 1-2. And from there he went and from there he's won every match since then until so he's one match left. So lost his first one, won a second, and dropped his third, and now has gone on a winning streak since. Kota Ibushi is currently the reigning defending G1 winner from last year and the year prior. So he's won 2 back-to-back years. So he won the G1 Climax 29 and G1 Climax 30 tournaments, and is now looking to win his third. To my knowledge, nobody has won 3 back-to-back. Nobody's won 3 back-to-back tournaments. I don't think anybody's won 3 tournaments overall, but I could also be wrong in that assumption. I am wrong. So Hiroshi Tanahashi is a man who has 3 G1 tournament wins. One in 2007, 2015, and 2018. So if Kota were to win this tournament, he would have gone 3 back-to-back, which nobody's done. Do I see him winning his third one? It's possible. It's possible. I'll pin that as a very high possibility. If not for someone else on this list, he would probably be my pick for the year. But someone else on this list, I think it's going to go a different way. I'll get into that here in a minute. So next person in A block is a man named as Zack Sabre Jr. is the next competitor in A block, who is also currently sitting at 12 points. Zack currently holds wins over Kota Ibushi and a man by the name and the current world champion in the tournament, Shingo Takagi. But these are the wins that will determine the finals. I'll get to that in a minute as well. But just keep them in the back of your mind for now. So he currently sits at 12 points. He's 6-2. Zack is a ground and pound submission wrestler. Very technical, very knee deep in his the British style of wrestling, which is more grapple based, more submission based. Next one on the list, Kenta, who's also sitting at 12 points, currently 6-2 in the tournament, with a loss to Yano and a loss to Shingo Takagi. Can't talk. As you can tell, I don't do a lot of this talking just in a straight mic with no co-host here and no game to be played. But it's fine. We're working through it. But yeah, so Kenta at 12 points is another frontrunner in this tournament. He has wins over Zack Sabre Jr. And that's his. So currently there's 4 people. Just so you guys know, this thing's scripted. Just so you know, I don't write scripts. I just kind of go off the cuff. Improv. I just go off the top of my head. I couldn't write a script. I could write a script. I could write bullet points, but I choose not to do that because this is more natural and fun. But Kenta holding a win over Zack Sabre Jr. matters. And once I get through the rest of the competitors in A block, I will let you know why that matters. But moving on to my main man, my guy, the world's champion, Shingo Takagi, sitting at 12 points with a 6-2 record, with losses to Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr., who are also tied at 12 points. Shingo Takagi has had a really good tournament so far. Like, his tournament started off very, very strong with the win over Ishii in a very, very long match, but it was a tough match, tough win. Then he dropped his second match to Zack Sabre Jr. in a very well fought match. Upon thinking about it after the fact, while watching it, I was very upset and disappointed with how that match ended. But upon thinking about it, still was a great match, great show, and Then he went on to win. His next match in the tournament was a forfeit from one of the other competitors I'm going to get to in a minute. So that was just a free win for him that night. Then he went on to beat Kenta as well. So he holds what is known as a tiebreaker over Kenta in this tournament, which I'll go more in depth on in a minute here. And then he dropped his next fall to Kota Ibushi, and has won every match since then. But going on to the next person is Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull. Tomohiro Ishii sitting at a 5-3 record at 10 points, with losses to Shingo Takagi, losses to Kota Ibushi, and a loss to Kenta. That's where his other loss came to. Yes, he lost to Kenta. He lost to Kota and lost to Shingo. So that effectively, in my mind, will eliminate him from the tournament, because he's at 12 points. If he were to tie, like get to 12 points, he still would lose out because of how the points are working. With him being at 12 points and having a loss to Kota, Kenta, and Shingo, who are also at 12, who are currently at 12 points. He's statistically out of the tournament. I need to mark that here, because thinking about it, he is basically out of the tournament at this point. After that, we have, again, Ishii always has a great G1. The man's tough as nails. The man can take a licking and give a licking. And if you're not giving your all in that match, he will let you know, and it will force you to give more than you think you would have given in any particular match. Moving on to Toru Yano. I could go on and on about Toru Yano. The man himself, prior to this current version we have of Yano previously was a very mean dude, and he said in his own words he was a very mean and cruel person. But Yano in of himself is not a bad person. Now he's more goofy, more of a great sales pitcher or salesman when selling all of his stuff he's made and all his wares and shit. But Toru Yano currently sitting at 4-4 in the tournament at 8 points. Statistically is out. So yeah, he's sitting at 8 points. Toru Yano never has the longest match of the tournament. Most of the matches never go more than 10 minutes because of his goofy nature and how he tends to win matches. Considering he doesn't actually win matches in a traditional sense, he's gonna try to figure out a way to tie you up outside the ring so you get counted out. Figure out a way to not most of the time his matches end in countouts, because that's how he gets most of his wins. Or he will get you with the low or he'll just take you to Dick Kick City and get you that way. Either way, he's gonna goof his way into a win somehow. Next up, we have the Great Okan at 8 points. Great Okan this is Great Okan's first G1. Relatively new. Made his debut, I'm pretty sure, in 2019 or 2020. I forget exactly which year it was. Debuted, and he's had a great show so far, right? Like, he's 4-4. He's got 8 points for his first G1, which is not bad. That's a pretty good point total for your first G1. Like, he started his tournament off with a win over Tonga Loa, and then he went 3 straight wins before he went on a pretty deep losing streak there. But I've been thoroughly impressed by Great Okan. I was not expecting much out of him this year for his first G1, but he's shown a lot to me this year and improving a lot. So I can see him being in next year's G1. I can see him being in future G1s as well. So he had a great show. Yeah. So now we get to the I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, because just because they're at low point totals doesn't mean doesn't really account for all of it, really. Because Tongaloa is he's one half of the Gorillas of Destiny with his brother Tamatanga, who's in B block. Tongaloa's sitting at 2-6 at 4 points right now, but being a mostly solo tag team guy for most of his run here in New Japan Pro Wrestling, has done a great job, in my opinion, at showing up and showing out in this tournament. He may not have gotten a lot of wins, but he has proven that he can go and that he can hang in a one-on-one situation with big names in big matches. So I can see him improving. I can see him getting better in this, and eventually translating his experience and his wins here in this tournament over into the World Tag League tournament coming up in a few weeks' time. So that he's impressed me. He really has. And now we move on to Yujiro Takahashi. Yujiro Takahashi currently sits at 2-6 points, or 2-6 at 4 points, and he shocked me on the very first night with the win over Kota Ibushi. I could have never have seen that coming. I could have never foreseen that or counted that. So that took me by surprise. Yujiro Takahashi in himself is... So Yujiro Takahashi is a part of Bullet Club and a part of a smaller faction inside of the Bullet Club faction, which is the House of Torture faction, with him, Sho, Evil, and I don't remember the other one. I think it's just Dick Togo, but that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is he's part of House of Torture, which is a brand new faction that queued up here in New Japan Pro Wrestling, with Evil at the head, who's over in B Block currently. So, Yujiro, again, he's put in great work. He's put in great matches. Has tried to do everything the right way. He's tried to... I was impressed with his reserve and his ability to not go completely evil and chicanery and all the dirty tricks he could have used. He's kept it, for the most part, fairly clean in the ring, which is very impressive and very commendable when we go over to B Block and talk about that one. Other than that, there's not much really to say about Yujiro Takahashi, to be fair. But now we come down to the final and former participant in this tournament. My man, my favorite wrestler in all of Japan Pro Wrestling, Tetsuya Naito. This man is currently at 0-9 because on the first night of tournament action, he sustained a pretty severe knee injury against Zack Sabre Jr., and after that had to forfeit all the rest of his matches in the tournament. So everybody who would have fought Naito got free 2 points, and instead had to wrestle a special singles match on that night instead, with no points on the line or anything like that. So that is one of the biggest disappointments of this entire year, because I can only think of the what ifs, right? The what ifs of how would this tournament have really shaped up if Naito didn't get hurt? If Naito was in all these matches and had all his matches, who would he have gotten wins over? Who would not have gotten some of these points that they would have gotten otherwise? Like, I honestly believe Yujiro wouldn't have got any more wins. He would have only been at 2 points with the win over Kota Ibushi, because he's at 4 points only because he got a free 2 points because Naito wasn't there. Same thing with Tongaloa. I think he would have been at 2 points as well had Naito been there. Or maybe he would have got a win over Naito. I have no idea. I have so many questions and so many what ifs if he did not get hurt. So yeah, it's a huge disappointment. And at some point when he comes back, I would love to talk more about Naito, because there's just a lot there to talk about. But for now, that is the A block. That's all the participants in the A block. So for the finals of A block, which happened on the 18th of October, which is this coming Monday, for that night we have the first match being Tongaloa and Zack Sabre Jr. So this match is very important because Tongaloa could play spoiler for Zack Sabre Jr. Because I've mentioned tiebreakers a minute ago. Currently, Kota Ibushi, Zack Sabre Jr., Kenta, and Shingo Takagi are all tied at 12 points with one match to go, which makes all of their point totals 14 max, should they win all their matches on the final night, which would basically make Zack Sabre Jr. the winner of the A block because of how tiebreakers work. Because Zack Sabre Jr. has a win. Actually, no, that would make the winner Kenta. I'll say that in a minute. I'll go over it in a minute. Because, so, if Zack Sabre Jr. beats Tonga Loa, he puts him at 14 points. Okay? And then the next match would have been Naito and Okan. But because Naito's injured, Okan's tournament is basically done at this point. He can't get any more points. So he's stuck at 8 points. After that is Shingo Takagi versus Yujiro Takahashi. If Shingo wins, that puts him at 14 points. So then after that, we have Ishii and Yana, which that point match doesn't matter for the finals of who goes to the finals, because they both are out of contention for the finals. And the final match of the night, the main event, is Kota Ibushi versus Kenta. Should Kenta win, that puts Kota at 12 points still, and Kenta at 14. So if that were to happen, then Kenta would win the block, because Kenta has a win over Zack Sabre Jr., and Zack has a win over Shingo. But Shingo also has a win over Kenta. So you see where this kind of gets muddled a little bit. So with that, I don't think they're going to have this many tiebreakers because of how this tournament is structured. I don't believe they're going to have this many tiebreakers. So somebody on this night is losing. So if Kota Ibushi beats Kenta in the main event, that puts Kota Ibushi at 14 points and Kenta at 12 points. And if Shingo and Zack both win, that makes Zack Sabre Jr. the winner, because he's beaten both Shingo and Kota Ibushi, which is a very likely scenario, which is something that I don't want to happen. That's like my worst nightmare if that were to happen, really, to be fair with you. And then we have, what I want to happen is, if Tonga Loa beats Zack, that puts Zack at 12 points still. If Shingo beats Yujiro, that puts him at 14 points. And if Kenta beats Kota Ibushi, that puts Kenta at 14 points and Kota at 12 still. Shingo has a win over Kenta, which would make Shingo the winner of A block, which is what I believe is going to happen and what I want to happen. So, and I'll get into why I think that's the best option for when we get into B block here in a second. Oh my god, we're already 30 minutes. So now we move over to B block. B block competitors. At the top of the block, we have Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb at 8 points. 8-0. Jeff Cobb is currently running Ramshot over B block, and he is currently at the max total points right now, 16 points, undefeated. So, Jeff Cobb, there's not much to say, he's the beast. The man, literally, the whole story arc so far for B block is who can stop Cobb, because nobody has yet. And I believe there's one man, I believe, who can beat Cobb. There's one man, and that man is going to bring the rain on the final night of B block action, and that is the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, sitting at 7-1, 14 points. These are the only two men currently who can win the B block. No matter what else happens on the final night of B block action, these are the only two men who can win this block. They have the max point totals of anybody, so nobody can beat them in points. And currently, it comes down to them. The final night of B block, the main event is Okada and Cobb. Jeff Cobb does not need to beat Okada. Jeff Cobb needs a time limit draw, or he needs to beat Okada. That's it. But Okada has to beat Jeff Cobb. No. G1 Climax 28 in 2018. The eventual winner was Hiroshi Tanahashi on the final night of A block action. Tanahashi and Okada were tied at 14 points apiece. Tanahashi did not need to beat Okada. Okada needed to beat Tanahashi. All Tanahashi needed was a time limit draw. And with the nature of Tanahashi and Okada, and their long, illustrious storied history that I will get into at some point on this podcast series, they went to a time limit draw, which put Tanahashi at 15 points and Okada at 14, which made Tanahashi the winner of that block, and then he went on to win the tournament. So with that being said, I personally think that this year is the year for Okada to come back and right that wrong, because the story of this G1 so far, besides Jeff Cobb, has been the return of the Rainmaker, the return of Kazuchika Okada, the return back to form, back to his winning ways as he was 2 to 3 years ago when he was on top of the world. So I fully believe Okada to win against Cobb. I am very interested to see how that's going to play out, but that in my mind makes the most sense. But going to the other competitors in the block. Also in B block is Hiroshi Tanahashi, the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. The man who's been around the longest, the man who has 3 G1 wins, the man who has the most world title wins in the company. The man who can do it all. The man's literal tagline is the ace of the universe. The man can do anything. The current United States heavyweight champion for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Currently sits at 4-4 at an 8-point record. But yeah, so Tanahashi has had a decent G1. Not his best G1, but a decent G1 at that. So, it's been alright. And moving on to the next person who has a chance to make the G1 better for himself, but has really disappointed me for this year, only because of how he finished last year. So, the next person I'm talking about is Sonata. Sonata currently sits at a 4-4 record, 8 points. His typical point average in these tournaments is 8 points. So, he hit his average. He has one match to go. And I totally forgot to post minutes. I'll do that in a minute. But yeah, Sonata. One of my top 5 wrestlers in this entire company. At some last year's G1, he went to the B block finals. So I was hoping for him to repeat that same success this year, and that has not been the case, unfortunately. Not for a lack of effort, not for a lack of bad matches per se. He's just been unlucky because of Jeff Cobb and Okada, how well they've done so far. So, unfortunately, we didn't get another block finals for Sonata. Quite unfortunate, but I do think his time will come. I do think at some point we will see him win a G1 finals and win a G1 tournament. Just not this year. And that has been the crux of Sonata for his entire career so far. Has been win Sonata. When will he win the big one? When can he win the big one? Not for lack of not having chances, but for lack of just when are they going to pull the trigger on Sonata? I feel like when they do, or when it clicks with him, he's going to be winning championships all the time. But for now, it's not been his G1, unfortunately. But transition over to another man who could have potentially won this tournament, who could have potentially won the B block, in a man known as Evil. Evil is sitting at 6-2, 12 points. The former tag team and LIJ stable member of Sonata, Evil. Yeah, Evil has lived up to his name this year with his manager Dick Togo in his corner. Has lived up to his namesake and doing as many. Basically went through the book of how to be I'm coining something here. He went through the book of chicanery and looked for as many ways around actually wrestling a match and seeing how he could get out of it, how he could trick to win, how he could pull as many strings as he possibly could. Evil currently sits at 12 points. He could have won the block had he only beat Jeff Cobb. And he tried. He threw everything at Jeff Cobb that he could think of. He tried everything. And Jeff Cobb, just too strong, too powerful, got the win over Evil and eliminated him from the entire tournament contention. So, yeah, Evil threw everything that he could at Cobb. He tried everything. He threw everything but the kitchen sink at Cobb. and Cobb still won. So there's that. Moving on to man who has also very much impressed me this tournament has been Chase Owens. Chase Owens currently sits at 2-6 points, 4 points total, with wins over Taichi and wins over Hiroshi Tanahashi, which was a big win for Chase Owens. Never in my wildest dreams would I have ever picked Chase Owens to beat Tanahashi, the ace of the universe. But he did. In a surprising upset when he won. So it was a fun match. It was a great match. Chase Owens has been well improved in singles competition. Could definitely see him in the G1 next year. He's definitely improved himself. So it's been a really good showing for Chase Owens. Following up, we have Tama Tonga, the brother and tag team partner of Tonga Loa. Yeah, Tama Tonga currently sitting 6 points with a very impressive win over Okada the previous night, last night at this current time of recording. Yeah, I never would have saw that coming. It was Tama Tonga's first main event singles match in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and against Okada, the big man on campus. That was an amazing showing, an amazing match, and can't give Tama any more praise than that. He's had great matches. He almost had a win over Hiroshi Tanahashi, but he had his finisher, but then was too tired and too worn out to capitalize on it, and got rolled up for a 3 count. And that's been the story of most of Tama's matches, being so close yet so far away from the wins. But I can see him definitely being in next year's G1 again. This is not his first G1. This is his first G1 in about 5 years, since he stopped competing in the G1 to focus on being a tag team with his brother. So yeah, falling on from here, we have Hiroki Goto sitting at 4 points, 2-6. Open weight 6-man champions with Yoshihashi and Tomohiro Ishii. So Goto sitting at 2-6 points, previous G1 winner as well. The man puts in great work, puts in great matches. Again, for a lot of the beginning of the tournament, he couldn't even buy a win. He was sitting at 0 points for the vast majority of the start of this tournament, but then started picking up wins in the later half, and has not had a good end showing to the tournament. Goto is definitely one of those reliable hands who can put in great matches and great work. Moving on to his tag team partner in the same block, Yoshihashi, who's sitting at 2-6 points, 2-6 with the 4-point record. And Yoshihashi, again, surprised me with a few of his wins in this tournament. Has definitely proven to me that he is a good singles wrestler, that he can go. But again, he's still in the lower tier block of wrestlers, in my personal opinion, that you would never pick him to win matches. You never pick him over anybody else in this tournament to be a winner. I don't ever think he's going to win a G1. If he does, it'll definitely surprise me. But he's all right. I have no negativity or bad, or really, truly anything too negative or too mean to say. But it's just Yoshi. Following up on that, I'm pretty sure about everybody else. So the last person in the B block is Taichi, sitting at 2-6 at 4 points. The tag team partner of Zack Sabre Jr. and one half of the World's Tag Team Champions. I forgot to mention that when I mentioned Zack earlier, but yeah. So with that in mind, Taichi had a great starter to the tournament, got 2 really fast wins, and then hit a roadblock when it came to Evil and Jeff. And after his match with Jeff Cobb, he sustained some bruised ribs, a rib injury. So now he's wearing, the rib tape. He can barely do any of his actual physical moves that he needs to be doing to get the win. So the latter half of his tournament, ever since losing to Jeff Cobb, has been a downhill slope for him. And it's been a sad thing to watch, because Taichi has been most improved in this tournament. And overall, as a singles person and as a wrestler himself, has proven that when I first started watching, he was nobody I was giving a crap about or watching on. But Taichi has opened my eyes to how good he can be and how his potential is actually there. And at some point down the road, I could definitely see Taichi winning a G1 at some point. But at least not in the near future, at least for now. But that is all. That is all the competitors in this 20-man field. Now, I'm going to finish this off by going over a little bit of my own personal picks and my own personal thought processes for how this tournament is going to shape up and going to end off on. And for A block, I do feel Shingo Takagi is going to walk out as the victor. It'd be the first time, I'm pretty sure the first time a world champion makes the G1 finals and wins a block. Because typically the world champion doesn't win. Typically, at least in the modern style of the G1 Climax tournament, no world's heavyweight champion has won the tournament. And I don't think he's even won a block, to be fair. But I do pick Shingo to win A block and to win the final tournament overall. I think Shingo just had a really great a really great year with big wins over Okada previously in the year, wins over Hiroshi Tanahashi, just a lot of really good wins and a lot of great matches this year. So I think he can pull this out. He's gonna need a lot of help from the other competitors in this tournament, which I believe can happen. But again, I will either be right or wrong come the 21st of October. But now move on to the final of B block in the Nippon Budokan, where the finals are held every year for the G1 Climax, and where the final of B block always happens. So starting off the night, we have Sonata versus Evil. Former tag team partners, former friends, former stablemates going up against each other. These two know each other so well. I do believe Sonata will get the win in this match because of how well they know each other, and because Sonata knows what to expect when it comes to Evil. But there's always that slight thing that Evil can cheat better than Sonata knows. So we'll see how that shapes up. This match does not affect the finals at all. So it's just going to be a good match to watch. After that, we have Yoshihashi versus Chase Owens. Again, with how well Chase has done this tournament, I do believe he will win against Yoshihashi. But with this match has no bearing on the finals. So I don't really know where this one's going to go. It could literally go either way. But I do feel Owens will get the win here. Then we have Goto and Tama Tonga. Again, a match that doesn't really affect the finals at all. It's just going to be a good match with Goto versus Tama. So I do think Goto will get the win. But again, after that big win over Okada, Tama might actually grab that win there. I don't know. I don't know to go for that one. Actually, no, I'm wrong. My bad. Okada and Cobb are not the main event, which I do feel is a very, very, very failed opportunity. Thinking they might change it on the actual night, but we'll have to wait and find out. But yeah, Okada and Jeff Cobb are the semi-main event, and I do have Okada going over Cobb. I do feel like this is Okada's year to right that wrong from 2018. And Okada's proven he can beat Cobb. He beat Cobb earlier in the year with a light back injury. So I do believe Okada can beat Cobb and will beat Cobb to go on to the B block finals. And of course, the final night of the night is Tanahashi and Taichi. With Taichi's ribs being the way they are, that makes them very susceptible to Tana's finishing move. And I do feel like Tana will get the win in this match fairly easily, but not without a fight. But yeah, Okada winning B block, Shingo winning A block. It's a rematch from their previous match early in the year at Dominion, which was for the vacated world title after Will Ospreay had to drop the belt for injuries. So I do believe this is a capstone match for Shingo, because Shingo beat Okada for the vacant world title. But because of Okada's injury and the damage he already sustained for wrestling, I do believe this is a way to legitimize more of Shingo's title win and his run as world champion. And I do believe Shingo will get this win and be the G1 Climax 31 winner. But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone a little longer. I'm probably going to cut a lot of this out because it's a lot of dead air. But I thank y'all for watching. I thank y'all for enjoying. Stay tuned for more content from us here at Omni Gaming. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed this After Hours and this new series. And this new series of KPWP here on Omni Gaming. Please go check out other content. It's fun, it's great, it's enjoyable. Go check out the Persona 4 playlist. That series is our longest. It's our most run. It's the longest running series we've done so far to date, and it's got a lot of good stuff in it. So if you like RPGs, you like anime, go watch that game. It's fun. It's two idiots playing a video game. One who knows the entire game and one who doesn't know a thing. It's great. It's fun. Also, go check out the Splatterhouse playlist. The Splatterhouse game we're doing this month. It's been great. It's an oldie but a goodie, and it's for October this year. Go watch it. It's fun, spooky, scary. Yay! Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Stay updated with all of our latest content, and I'll catch you back here on another After Hours. Deuces.